I'm doing well, thank you. I'm doing well. Yes, here in my mathematics attack room, we got 2 whiteboards, 3 screens, 200 mathematical books, and even we even a table of football over there. So hey ho, we're ready to go.
You must be working full time at the moment, considering what's going on.
Oh well, yes. I've got my work.
Yeah.
And then I've got my I'm now president of the IMA, but it's all doing things online. And then there's of course with this coronavirus, So it's mathematical modelling is playing an essential role. So away we go.
So what are you doing at the moment in terms of like yourself? Are you are you self-isolating? Are you just kind of in the house, or are you maneuvering around? What are you up to?
Yeah, I am. I'm working from home, so I don't go to. I work from home.
Keep your social distancing.
Keep a social distancing. I stay in my house as far as I can. Apart from, we need some food. You gotta get some food. So I'm
only for the essentials. I think it's very important everyone takes that notice on, because it's really vital in terms of like fighting the spread of the virus and taking heed to like the advice that's being given by the medical specialist and the government and so forth. Do you know the funny part? Because I was thinking about our previous podcast that we recorded, and we're discussing how AI might be potentially be the death of us, and how there might be a potential AI apocalypse. But now we have the Corona apocalypse. What's been your take on it?
Well, I mean, is it a corona apocalypse? Well, my take is that usually when we talk about viruses, we tend to be more prepared, but this one has come so quick, spread so fast that we've just been we've been unprepared for it, and now we're playing very much catch up. So that's my take on it. It's the way it's spread so fast. It's we're playing very much catch up, but the thing is, we're really and truly, in terms of viruses like this, you're talking about a year to 18 months before you have mass immunization. So away we go. So we're playing very much in this time. We're very much playing hide and seek. Do you know what I mean? And also seeing ways we can actually minimize its transmission. Yeah.
Most definitely. I mean, coming back to something which is more in line with your direct work. So, you're a mathematician and an expert at that, and one of the most renowned in the country. So, in terms of maths and incorporating that into the tracking and the battling of the virus, where are you at the moment? Because I know you've been working a lot on like modeling in terms of like battling the virus and the spread of the virus, and also how we potentially going to distribute a vaccine if a vaccine was to be found.
Well, I mean, okay, so a distribution the vaccine as a vaccine's found. I mean, I've done that. I've done an algorithm. That algorithm was done 5 years ago, and really and truly, that algorithm wouldn't be applicable until we find a vaccine or we develop a vaccine and it's been tested as at 18 months time. So that's one mathematical problem in the future. But there's a here and now problem about here we have this virus which is global wise in this country. The death rates are rising. The number of infections is rising. What can you do now? Now, people may be surprised to hear that mathematical modelling is an essential part of the battle against coronavirus. And then the reason why that is that the spread of virus actually follows a mathematical pattern. Its behaviour, how it spreads in a mathematical way. Yeah. But the issue is, and this is the issue is that the mathematics, we don't really understand or know that mathematics. It is far too complex, too many factors, too many uncertainties, too many unknowns, too many things that we don't know, too much information we don't know. Hence why we use my field, which is called mathematical modeling, where we say, right, okay, what assumptions can we make about this virus? And then from that, can we build a logical argument to then what then can actually predict its behavior, and then can actually predict, how many people will be infected. And then from that, we can actually develop strategies to try and minimize its effect.
Yeah.
Now, I know what the government is doing now is that they are engaging 10 different universities. Now they'll probably do they'll be independent, and they will create 10 different mathematical models, because if you get two teams to create a mathematical model, the mathematical models will even though they're looking at the same problem, it'll probably come up with a different equation or a different methodology or a different algorithm and a different solution.
Maybe clashing those ideas.
Well, sometimes you depending on what assumptions you're making, depending on the methodology you use, you will have some models that disagree with each other. So you have some, but you have some models that do agree with each other. But that's why the government has gone for 10 different universities to say, right, we want you to create independently mathematical models to model this behavior of this coronavirus, and they would come up with 10 different solutions, and then they will look at saying, well, let's see where we all agree. Oh, let's see where we all clash, and then from that we will come up with a strategy of how to tackle it. Now, what I have done. Now, I am not a member of any of these university teams, but by looking at the problem and thinking about it logically, I then can create my own mathematical model. Yeah. And that's what I've done. I've created my own mathematical model, which actually looks at the spread of. Even though I haven't got all the data, what the universities will be privy to, but what I can do is I can model a virus and a virus, and saying, right, now if we implement certain strategies, can we minimize the number of people that die? Can we minimize the peak of the number of people get infected? So henceforth, if we can do that, then we can actually help ensure that the NHS don't gets overrun. But what I'm doing is I've created a mathematical model that says, okay, let's look at these strategies. What will work and what will not work. Now, one of the things that the government did say right at the beginning, they said about herd immunity. They said they wanted to create a herd immunity.
Yeah, I keep hearing that word quite a bit in regards to herd immunities. Is that the case of allowing a large part of the population to catch the virus in the hope that they become immune to it? And if we can become immune to it, we'll be less susceptible to catching it from each other. Is that the idea behind herd immunization?
Usually herd immunity means that you vaccine part of the population, and then when the virus comes, guess what? It won't spread as widely into the population. But what the government was saying, and please, somebody forgive me if I got this wrong, but let's see if I got this right. I think this is what the government was saying. They're saying this is, well, let it go into the population. The young fit people that haven't got underlying health issues will more or less will survive it, and because they will build up immunity, then the virus will not spread to the rest of the population, because we've built up this herd immunity. That's what I believe what they said. Yeah. And there's what the scientists have stated was they're saying, well, wait a minute, you by doing that, there's going to be a certain number of people that are going to die. Do you know what I mean?
There's going to be
a large amount are going to die. And so what they're arguing is, the scientists argue, is for social distancing, or what we call it's a nice marketing way of saying isolation. Yeah. And so if we go for let's say the Chinese example, and this is what the thinking is this, right? If you isolate the population, then those who already got it, they cannot transfer the virus to those who have been isolated. So eventually the virus will burn itself out, it will die out. Yeah. And then once it dies out, then everybody can go back to normal. But there's a problem. The problem is that when the virus dies out and everybody goes back to normal, that means there'll be a certain number of people that will get on the plane, fly over to some place in the world, and come back with coronavirus, and then we're back to square one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also there's and also with the assumption with herd immunity is there's the belief that once you've had the virus, you don't
Mhm.
get it again.
Yeah.
But there are some flus that you get in a year's time. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
The seasonal flu comes around all the time, and the same people keep catching it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is because this virus is so new, we don't know. We can't say it won't come back. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we can't say, oh, by the way, it's completely died out. You know, we can't say it's completely died out. So when everybody comes back and saying business as usual, you can't say that coronavirus won't come back. The only way that we know we can tackle coronavirus is when we reach that stage of mass immunization. But
Yeah.
that's going to happen until a year's to 18 months time.
I
So
mean, that
hence,
might even be longer because aren't we still looking for vaccines for all the other previous flu epidemics that we've had?
yeah, but I mean, it could be longer. But I mean, I think because of the way this is that people are going to be focused on it. We already know it's DNA. We already know it's DNA, and so
Yeah.
henceforth, once we know it's DNA, we can everybody, believe me, every university, every chemical pharmaceutical company, this is priority number one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So while they're doing that, so the question is, what can we do in the meantime? And now, one of the things that I did see on the BBC, and what I think is I did do a simulation of a mathematical model, is to say, right, there's you got one side that's talking about herd immunization, and there's a side that's talking about social distancing. Now, maybe there is a with my mathematical model, it showed that there is a sweet spot that
Okay.
a sweet spot, meaning that for instance, if you draw a line in the sand and say, right, if the numbers of people infected go above this number, you will employ partial social isolation, social
Yeah.
distancing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and if it goes below this line, you will employ partial herd immunity. Now there is a now how what value do you attribute to those partial? Well, what my model has shown is that actually there is actually a sweet spot where you do minimize the number of people that actually will pass away. And
Yeah.
but thing is, but the key thing to get this actually to work, and this is one of the criticism I do have for the government, is that you need to test, test, test as
Yeah.
many people as possible. You need to test them because, thing is, at the end of the day, it's no point testing people when they are sick. You need to test people now. You need to test people. You need to test people even if they're feeling well. And so that we know exactly what part of the cycle they are in terms of the virus. Are they isolated? Are they suspect, or have they actually got it? Or are they weeks it was in it? Are they within recovery? But
Yeah.
we need to test it. One, to inform the models, because yes, that could inform my model, but more importantly, that will inform the university models that are actually actually informing the government to deliver the strategies. But also, and this is another important thing about a mathematical model, it actually validates the model. So there are two key performance indicators. One, the number of people that's been affected, and the number of people that passes away, that dies. The model will make those predictions. It will make the prediction about the number of people that get affected, and it will make a prediction about the number of people that die. Now, if
Yeah.
that doesn't, let's say my model makes that prediction for what's going to happen next week, and it is way off. I know that something's gone wrong either in the date set or in the logic of my model. And
Mm.
the same with the universities models. They need to be validated, and they need data to be to inform it.
Most
Yeah.
definitely. What are some of the stats or numbers that you've come up with in terms of your modeling?
Well, I mean, okay. So, for instance, in terms of the stats, I mean, what I have done is,
I mean, as scary as they may be, I want to know.
no, I mean, right. Well, I am not going to be saying, oh, these are the stats. But one of the
Yeah,
things that
it's just according to your modeling.
yeah, because what I have done is that I have modeled a virus, a general virus, coronavirus will have certain parameters. Some of it will be publicly known, some of it won't be publicly known. But what I will say is this: if you, let's say, for instance, let's call it a baseline. If you went just for the worst case scenario is for solution, it is pure herd immunity. If you went straight for that, that is, you'll get a certain number of people that will pass away. However, if you go for an optimum, what I so far is if you go for, let's say, an optimum solution where you draw the line in the sand, and you can say above this line you go for partial social distancing, and below this line you go for partial herd immunization. Guess what? You can reduce the deaths by a staggering 76%.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So that's what this is a scenario that I've done in my model so far. Now what I can't say is, will that be the same number in this normal for coronavirus? Different numbers, different transition rate, but it shows what the model shows so far, which I need to investigate further, is that there is a strategy to minimize the number of deaths.
I see. And so what is it that Italy done wrong then? Because not necessarily that they've done anything wrong, because I tend to feel like we're 2 weeks behind Italy, and if you look at the trajectory, amount of deaths in relations to when the first death happened, we're pretty much on the same trajectory as Italy. So what happened there, and are we on the same course according to your mathematical modelling and your calculations? I mean, what could have been done to prevent that from being blown out of control? Even though there are various reasons as to why Italy potentially had such a high death rate.
The key thing is, and the thing is, if you have to look at what South Korea has done, is test. Test. You got to test everybody.
Yeah.
As many people you test. Do you know what I mean? You test. Do you know what I mean? Where if somebody is at the most, when you have got a mild. When you just got the virus, you got mild. That's when you're at most contagious. But thing is, if they don't know and nobody knows, they're gonna be walking around doing whatever. So it seems almost like the horse is gone and we're trying to catch up with the horse. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the key thing is, and again, is the data, and you can't get the data unless you test.
Yeah.
That's
and
what
it won't be accurate unless you test either.
You won't be accurate unless you test. The thing is, unless you know what your population is doing, what the public is doing. Do you know what I mean? You will have the situation where in Australia when everybody just are just hanging out in Bondi Beach because they're thinking, I'm feeling fine, I haven't got it. Yes, you have, because guess what? Unless somebody has tested them and saying, oh, are you feeling fine? Yes, I'm feeling fine. I've tested you, and guess what? You've got it. That's when you see the behavior. That's when you see the behavior changes. Yeah. Behavior only changes. Behavior stands a higher probability of changing when you test and inform, saying you have got the disease. Yeah. Guess what? Yeah. Do stay in your house. By the time you're sweating and coughing and got fever, it's gone. It's too late. You've already passed on to them. You've already.
And I think that's the mistakes we tend to make in general as human beings. It's like when it comes to monitoring the body. I mean, when it comes to monitoring our cars, as soon as we hear any little bit of noise, we take it straight to the MOT center. But when it comes to keeping check with our bodies, we don't necessarily take action until it's too late or something dramatic has happened to us. So the idea of testing is essential. You recently tweeted something interesting, which was the Markov chain mathematical modeling. Can you explain that for me slightly? Because I had an idea what it was, but I didn't completely understand it since I'm not a mathematician.
Okay, well, the nice thing about what I've done is, again, like I believe that most of the models that out there, it's also called the SIRS model, which is it was shown on the BBC. It's like a series of these nonlinear differential equations. Now, what I've done is I just decided to go for a completely different approach, where what I'm saying is I'm going to define certain states, certain states. So let's say you have one state which is you're a suspect. You're suspect to get in the virus. Yes, that's one state. Yes, you have got the virus, but you're susceptible to getting the virus. So that's one state. Yes, and then there's another state where you actually have got the virus, yeah, and you're in week 1 of getting the virus, yeah. And then there's another state which is your week 2 of having the virus, yes.
Yeah.
And then there's another state where you've had the virus, but you're recovered, but you're in week 1 of recovery, and then you're in week 2 of recovery, week 3 of recovery, and then there's another state that's called isolated, yes, where you're being isolated, and then unfortunately there's another state which is called death, is when you passed away, yeah.
Yeah.
Now what I've done is that I've described all of these different states. Now what I can do is I can draw a line between those different states, and each line will represent a probability of you moving from one state to the other state within that week. So what's the probability of me being suspect and moving to the state of being catching the virus?
What are some of the factors of between that movement?
All you do is that all you have is you just use. The nice thing is about that, you just use pure probability. So that's that way. You know, when you're doing testing, all you're looking at is just pure probability. So you have a number of people that are in one state, and you're saying for the next week, what's the probability that what proportion of these people will move to this state of having the virus, and what determines them moving from one state to the other is pure probability. So I'm linking I'm linking all these states with pure probability. And so then once I write that as an algorithm, it shows you how the number of people in the states change over time, yeah, and henceforth, then I can actually start putting in strategies like saying, right, what happens if I try to increase the probability so that I can get more people in isolation, or actually I'm seeing that the number of people affected is going too high. What can I actually do? What can I actually do is that, and actually can change those probabilities at different time stages and see how things change over time. And that's what it's called, the Markov chain. The same mathematics. The same mathematics is used in gaming. You know, when you're playing video games and the character has to make a decision what to do next, it moves from one state to another. So this is what I use, the Markov chain, and it's not as sophisticated as the SIRS model, but because of its ease of use and the ease to build up the logic, you can actually feed it with the data, and it gives you a prediction of what's gonna happen next, and then you can actually start playing at some strategies of saying, right, what can we do given that this is the transference rate, what can we do to minimize the number of people are being affected and the number of people are dying.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good model to use as well in order to prepare like our health services for the amount of people that could potentially require further medication and care as well.
Yeah. And again, it's like I said, we just works on pure it's pure probability. You move from one state to the next state. Yes, now from that probability, that probability will change up and down. But it's there really to be fed live data. Now, I just did it. The reason why I did it was I've seen the people doing mathematical modeling. Mathematical modeling is my field, and I just thought, okay, let's have a. I just want to have an understanding what's going on, and we've seen criticism about herd immunization. We heard criticism about social distancing. I just wanted to see what does my mathematical model actually says.
Yeah. What does your mathematical brain tells you in regards to when you think we'll get over this?
Right. Okay. So,
because history gives us an indicator. We've had plenty of these over the course of history, and all of them have kind of come and disappeared due to various reasons and stuff. So, what is your mathematical conclusion in regards to us dealing with this issue?
It is very much dependent on the strategy that the government employs. Yeah. See, the key is there are two steps to this problem. Yeah, the horizon way over in the horizon is called mass immunization. Yeah. Once you find a vaccine, you have to find a vaccine. Then there have to be a mass immunization. So let's say that's in a year's 18 months time. Yeah. Right. So that's number one. So in terms of everything going back to normal, everything going back to normal only really occur is when there is mass immunization. Yeah, when we are all immune to it. That's the only time you can say things will go back to normal. Now, in the meantime, before massive immunization, then you're going into a game of hide and seek, where what you've seen is that the government has been introducing certain measures a little bit at a time, and no doubt by doing that, I suspect they're doing that to see, is that influencing the way is that trying to slow down the spread, and they're introducing the little things at a time. So what I suspect is going to happen, again, personal mathematical conjecture theory, is that when the naturally there has to be a peak, and there will be a decline, and then what you'll see the government will probably do is that they will start relaxing some measures. But they will have to monitor, because once you see the numbers start going back up again, they will start slapping their measures back on. So we could be faced with a situation where things get really we'll be hearing these measures, and then what we want to do is they want to introduce a culture where everybody's washing their hands 10 times a day for at least 20 seconds, so that we can slow down the transition rate. Now, if the more we slow down the transition rate, the more we'll get back to our normal life. But this is something that's going to continue until there's mass immunization. Do you know what I mean? So it's dependent on the public response, and that's because it's my tweet. It's dependent on the public response and the government strategy. Do you know what I mean? Now, if the public don't get behind this, then guess what? We're in for a long time.
Because there's rumors of a lockdown, because a lot of people are not really adhering to government guidelines. And I heard that the trains were packed and people are still maneuvering and hanging around and not really taking heed to what's being said. So, I mean, Boris is about to come on live pretty soon, and I'm hearing that there potentially might be some announcement in regards to a lockdown if this continues. So there might be an announcement tonight or anytime during this week if those guidelines are not being met.
I think the key thing. I mean, you told when I told you about my model, where it says it found the sweet spot. Where we're saying it will draw the line in the sand. Above this, you do one strategy. Below it, you do another strategy, and then you will minimize the number of people that pass away. But guess what? That is in the mathematics. That will not work if people turn around and say, "I'm not doing this." It's not going to work. The numbers will be out, not because the model's wrong. It's because people will say, right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm all right, Jack. Away we go. So, I mean, it's this. I have never ever seen anything like this ever before. Never.
I don't think it's been in any of our lifetime. I mean, we did have swine flu, and
we had swine flu, but I mean, there's swine flu. I mean, the thing is, because the transition rate was such, all you need to do with swine flu was catch it, bag it, catch it, kill it, and catch it, bin it, kill it. Do you know what I mean? Now, with this one, you can't. If you catch it, bin it, kill it. Yeah, you could catch it, bin it, but you don't. So it doesn't kill it. Do you know what I mean? Because do you know what I mean? So swine flu, we know what to do with swine flu. Catch it. Catch it, bin it, kill it.
But the thing is, when you look at the stats for swine flu, it was still very, very horrendous, because I think swine flu affected about 1.5 billion people, and it was about 500,000 or there's an argument that it was about 250,000 to 500,000 people that potentially died from it.
But this one is like this one
more vicious.
This is more vicious. This is more vicious. This is more vicious. I mean, we're talking about getting to your lungs and doing solidification. Do you know what I mean? This is vicious. This is vicious. I do remember swine flu. There was no lockdown. We to tackle swine flu, we made sure that we wash our hands. This is, we have to wash our hands. Sorry, swine flu, you have to wash your hands for 10 seconds. We have to wash your hands for 20 seconds, 10 times per day. cleanse everything, cleanse everything, and now we're on social distancing and on lockdown. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, so I remember swine flu very clearly, only because at the time my Sunday league football, we had gone to a tournament up in Manchester. It was a non-league football tournament, and we all stayed at a university campus. And there was rumours that everyone had swine flu. Everyone was absolutely sick on our way back from the tournament. Every football team that entered the tournament, so there was a lot of rumours and suspicion that everyone had caught swine flu. I don't know whether it was swine flu or not. I mean, I was even ill during the time, and people were throwing up and all sorts, and there was all these fear. But then it's like everyone just went about their business. Some of us went home, other people went on holidays after, and everyone just lived their lives. There was no media coverage on it as such as it is currently. I don't know whether social media is playing a part in that, but there wasn't the panic as we have now currently. So what is the part of the media playing in this, in terms of like educating people, or is it causing us to panic more than we should, or is it really that scary?
Well, I mean, some media are being responsible. I mean, thing is, the clear thing is listen to what the government is saying. Do you know what I mean? Listen to what the government advice. Listen to what the government advice. You know, you'll have websites saying, listen to government advice. Yeah, you'll have people that say, oh, you know, hold your breath for 10 seconds, da 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 da. And I think the BBC has done a good job saying this is myth and this is fact. But you know, for me, you know, what I have to say is listen to what the government is saying. You know, if you feel ill, if you feel ill, please stay in the house. You know, stay in the house. You know, if you're by yourself, stay in the house for 7 days. If you're with somebody, if you're with a family, stay in the house for 14 days. Listen, you know, singers. I mean, you know, there are ways. You know, if we can communicate. I mean, when I had a friend who lived out in China. When I heard this thing was going on in China, you know, I Skyped him. We had a good conversation. You know, we're having this conversation now. I've been speaking to loads of people over the social media, and away we go. But one of the things I will say is that there is a website called www.flusurvey.net. I think we as a public should be helping. If we help as a public, help our mathematicians and scientists, by actually logging onto this website and telling this website how we are, because I think there's a coronavirus part of that, and actually telling we're feeling fine or we're not feeling fine, and doing weekly. Then what will happen is that the mathematicians and the scientists of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicines, and also Public Health England, they can actually see that data, and that will help them validate and inform their models. That's what we need to do. We need, one, to follow the government advice, and two, help create this data set, because the thing is, you're a data set, I'm a data set. Do you know what I mean? I'm feeling fine at the moment, you're feeling fine at the moment. We probably know people that have not felt fine, and the thing is, by actually giving that data to the mathematicians and the scientists who are using these models to inform the government, we'll have
I think that's super important. I'm definitely going to put the details for the website on all of my various socials to impose it, or to encourage people to go onto it. Because one of the issues that I tend to find is whenever we come across any of these issues or any major occurrences across the globe and that involves governments, people always go into this conspiracy theorist mode where everybody has their say, everybody believes that there's some sort of agenda behind it. And to me personally, I believe there's stuff that's happened across the world that are potentially conspiracy based, that are potentially government stuff happening that we don't have a clue about. But what I do also believe is that when it comes to matters of health issues, and the health professionals are giving us advice, that we should take heed to those health issues, because it could potentially mean saving of your parents' lives, saving of your grandparents' life, or saving your own life. So people should take that advice on, regardless of what they think about it, whether it's a conspiracy or not, that they should play a responsible part in this whole thing.
There always will be conspiracy theories. I mean, there'll be every major incident, major global event, there always will be conspiracy theories, and people will say that. However, if we're going down to the bare practicalities, what can I do? So me as an individual, me as a mathematician, what can I do? What I can do is I can go on blogs, I can raise awareness and say, look, the government is this government strategy, what the advisor can do. Could be the outcome. I can say to the people, go onto flusurvey.net. I can, and I can say, guess what, with these mathematical models, that it is possible to generate a sweet spot. So I've seen a sweet spot in my mathematical models. Maybe the scientists have seen sweet spots in their mathematical models. That's what I can do. That's what I can do to help the situation as a mathematical model, but also, as let's say all those mathematicians, I represent all the professional mathematicians in the UK as president of the IMA. So, they've got my encouragement and support whenever they need it. So, and all the scientists, and also remember all the staff of the NHS, because they're very on the front line. Yes, I'll be doing the mathematics. Yeah. I'm doing the math. Yes, there'll be people doing the mathematics, but they'll be actually seeing those people coming through. Yeah. And then they'll be thinking, well, guess what? I have to treat these people, and guess what? There's always that risk that I could catch it, and then hello, my family comes under danger, etc., etc. So, I mean, so really and truly, conspiracy theory does not help right now. It does not help right now. What people have to realize is right now there is a situation, and which we need everybody. I can't do this by myself. Nobody can do this by themselves. We need the whole of the country, all of the United Kingdom, to work on this. And even if you get all of the United Kingdom working on this, guess what? It's not over until it's been eradicated all around the world. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Until it gets eradicated all around, because you see, let's say, for instance, they came up with some magical mathematical solution that all of a sudden it's now gone. And then then 1,000 people goes off on holiday and comes back, and they fly back and they come back with coronavirus and they spread it around. We're back to square one.
Back to square one again. Yeah.
We're back to square one.
Yeah. I don't know if you read the articles. I think they just got released either today or yesterday. It was in regards to the use of chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine in terms of dealing with the virus, and it's proving some positive signs. I think it was used in France, and it proved positive signs. It did fight the virus. I don't know if you've read much about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that. There's somebody saying that if you steam your face and attack your throat within 3 hours, really truly, it's do what the government tells you to do. Yeah. And beyond, vitamin C, keep yourself healthy, but at the bare minimum, do what the government is telling you to do. What we don't want is somebody to say, "Oh, I did what they did in France," and then I'm going around coughing on and everybody's in everybody's house. Do you know what I mean? Or the key thing is do what the government says. There'll be things there that will slow it down and fight it. Fair enough. If you want to do that, by all means, go ahead. But bare minimum, do as what the government has told you to do.
Yeah. In response to what you just said, what do you think about how the British public has responded to government guidelines?
Oh gosh, I mean, some of it's like you have some that's been really on the ball, and I mean you have just to see the Facebook comments on the ball, and there's some just you see them at the seaside. I mean, you're thinking, whoa, what is going on? Yeah. What is going on? Yeah, yes, it's nice sunny weather today. What is going on? Do you know what I mean? So no, I mean, this there will become a realization. I mean, how many people do they need to pass away before people start taking this seriously?
Yeah, most definitely. I think the issue is the issue that I tend to find it with like current age is that we become desensitized to like death and numbers, especially when it's not directly within your home or within your vicinity, and it's almost like just a figure that we detached from, and that's the issue. I tend to find, because a lot of people are taking screenshots and pictures of the death rates and putting them up, but there's no sense of like empathy or fear that it could potentially get worse and it could potentially be knocking on your door anytime soon. And I think that's what needs to be sort of kind of enforced more onto the public, that this death could be knocking on your door any moment right now.
Well, I can't remember which doctor. I think it might have been a doctor in America or in this country. I mean, and please forgive me for misquoting. Don't want to cause any panic. But they were saying something like 60 to 70% of us will be affected. Infected.
Yeah, most definitely. I can see that.
60 to 70% infected. So, guess what? 60 to 70%. Do you know what I mean? There's, the chances are that you won't come close to somebody that you know or come to you. Do you know what I mean? It's a, so, but the key thing is, at the end of the day, we have to see the situation as it is, employ the strategies. The government will probably be coming up with more recommendations and things, but we have to do what the government's doing. There's two reasons. One, if we do what the government does and it doesn't work, then they can actually then do something else. But if the government says do this and we don't do it, then they won't know whether the strategy will work or not.
Yeah, most definitely. Do you think the next thing to come for us is a lockdown? What do you think about the prospect of a lockdown? Do you think it's ideal?
I think the thing is, the problem is, as long as the rate is increasing, the problem is the rate is increasing. Yeah. The rate and thing is, once we get to this, we can't. Once we get into that number where the NHS collapses, runs. That's it. It's game over. Do you know what I mean? It's game over. That's almost like, when we're talking about those floods, the water's already come over the barrier. Yeah. So what the government's got to do is they've got to do things before that water comes over the barrier, because once the water's over the barrier, once the hospitals is overrun, that's it. Once the hospitals overrun, the nurses the nurses are tired, the nurses are getting infected, there are no doctors, there's no nurses, and the next wave comes. What do we do?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big things that we need to emphasize more on, is the fact that there's not going to be enough hospital beds, and there's not going to be enough ICUs for people to be put into. So there's going to reach a point where you might be in critical condition, but instead of being plugged into the right machinery, you're just in a bed in a school and you won't be getting treated.
So what you don't want is that you don't want the NHS to be overrun. So for instance, imagine this country without no hospitals. Do you know what I mean? We've got something that is threatening in the hospitals. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's only a finite number of patients it can treat. Treat next. Treat next. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's only a finite. And if people don't get it, then it's like this. Then what you need to do is get a bath, run some water, and then put a plug and just leave it, and then you see what happens. That's what happens when things get when a hospital will get overrun, or a flood barrier gets overrun. It's not good. It's not good. The thing is, and that's what the government is looking at, and they're looking at nervously. And they're seeing that we're following the same trajectory as Italy, and they're seeing jump and jump and jump and jump, and they're saying, okay, we need to try and this needs to peak and level off. But when you see, let's say, people going to the seaside and doing what they're doing, guess what? It's not going to level off.
Yeah, they're just going to continuously pass on. What would you do if you were the leader of the country? It's a random question. What would your report of action be? Bearing in mind that you got your mathematical hat on, what would you do to battle this right now?
First thing,
a decision maker.
If I was a decision maker, mass testing, all mass testing, even create a website, say loading your temperature, loading mass testing, test wherever mass testing for yeah, that's what you're going to do. Yeah. And then guess what? We're saying to that person, guess what? You have a mild condition of coronavirus. You have to stay. Tell people, because I'm feeling fine. Now that I'm looking at you, you're probably feeling fine, but we just don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like I could just go to work, run up and down, and do everything as I normally do. Do you know what I mean? But we just don't know until what I would do as a government. So you've been, no doubt you've been hearing this podcast. I've been very pro what the government's doing, and I've been very honest. But what they have been doing wrong, and what they're still doing wrong, is testing, because testing has a two-edged sword. It informs the public, it forms what the state is, and then it will inform the models, and it will validate the models. But without the testing, they're all what I'm thinking, and I'm hoping I'm wrong here, is all you're probably just looking at is how many people dying, how many people getting infected, and how many die. That's you need to test.
Only the serious cases that we're looking at stats wise,
and that is wrong, because that's by the by. That's downstream. That's downstream. It's once you're infected, that's it. You're infected. But it's the case of it's the people who haven't got no symptoms, but going around infecting people. They don't know that they got coronavirus. See, you don't know you got it. I don't know I've got it, because guess what? We have not been tested.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What we need is we need testing. Even if we're driving a car, and if we can see, we got McDonald's over there. There's McDonald's that's close to there. KFC, McDonald's. Yeah, there's a drive-through. You drive through. Boom. You
go. Yeah.
That's what needs to be done. That will need to be done. A mass testing. We don't know what's coming, where it is, unless you're testing. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, think about it. It's almost like the analogy of a goalkeeper. Yeah. Now, if a goalkeeper, what a goalkeeper will say is they can see where the shot's coming from, then they can do something about it. Is when they're blinded. If they're blinded, the ball could be coming from anywhere, and they won't be able. And thing is, at the end of the day, what we don't want is information appearing and this is an exaggeration to prove a point, at the last minute, because there's not a lot you can do about it. Once it's appearing at the last minute, there's not a lot you can do about it. But once you can see what's upstream, then you can start doing something about it.
Most definitely. Have you actually looked into the virus itself in terms of its mechanism, in terms of how it works and what makes it such a dangerous virus?
No, that's like I say, there are people who's biologists who actually do that, and they will work side by side. I should say hand by hand, handshake shape.
I know that anymore.
They got to do that level, elbow. Yeah. Here's your elbow. Here you go, elbow. There will be people that they were working in this side by side in this team. Yeah. But now, I haven't been looking at the biology of it, but what I have been doing, and I think taking this approach is Markov chain. You saw the government suggested this, and I ran it in my Markov chain, and you saw what I produced in the Markov chain.
Yeah, I've been reading up on something quite interesting, which I'm not sure if you've looked at before, but I think it would be quite interesting for someone like you, to look at it and then inform me about it. So there's this hypothesis that there is one day there's going to be this virus X. I think it's even written in the WHO documents. So that's the World Health Organization. Yeah. So virus X would be sort of like the ultimate virus, the virus that we're unable to detect, that can potentially end humanity. I know every time I speak to you, always talk about something dramatic which is going to end the world, because I know you're the maths guy, so you're probably going to do like a probability test on it. But what they assume virus X is a virus which we would be unable to detect because there's no symptoms. So at the moment, the human body is great at expressing symptoms. So if I'm feeling ill, for instance, if I've got a flu or a cold, I start sneezing, I got runny nose, I got sore throat, maybe body aches and so forth. So that's the body's mechanism telling me, oh, okay, there's something wrong with you here. But what this hypothesis says, that virus X would not give you those symptoms, so the body would be unable to detect until it's too late.
Wow.
And there's a reading about it that says that there's a potential for this to be a thing. So there's a chance of us one day encountering such a disease, which is very doomsday-ish. But what would be the probability of that?
Oh, dear, oh dear. I, you know, certainly coronavirus has got us, did catch the scientific community by surprise. Yeah. This idea of even a higher strain of virus, of virus X. Do you know what I mean? The one thing I'd say, the one thing that I will say, and not being the expert, is whatever happens, whether you make a virus invisible or whatever, it always leaves a trace. There's always a clue. Yeah. There's always a clue. There's something. There's always a clue. There's not such thing as something that's entirely invisible. I think there was a film called Invisible Man, and back in the day when the first film of the Invisible Man came off, everyone would say, "Oh man, what's going to do?" And now, if Invisible Man came around, we'd say, "Oh, just put some heat-seeking goggles, and that's it. We ain't no invisible no more." Do you know what I mean? So the key is, and this is where we just hope, is that one is that the advancement in medicine and the advancement in mathematical biology and an advancement in technology is that you always look for that clue. You always find that trace. It's the clue. It's to find that clue. Once you find that clue, then you can do something about it. So I'm somebody, as a mathematician, as a mathematical modeler, no matter how extreme something gets, I always believe, God willing, that there's a way, that there's a solution, and that's what I believe. And if, let's say, for instance, if there was a virus X out there that gave us no chance of protecting human, then guess what? I might as well pack up and go home and stop doing what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no point
which is not the case, which is why you do the great work that you do to enable people to have the information they need to go about their work, and it's fantastic. I really appreciate you coming on today for this brief talk and me getting to grips with what the mathematical world and the biological mathematical world is saying in regards to this virus. If you had one piece of advice or a couple of pieces of advice for the public, what would that be?
Yeah, wash your hands.
Yeah.
Stay at home.
Yeah.
Wash your hands. Do you know what I mean? And follow what the government is saying. Do you know what I mean? It needs all of us. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And the thing is, it's not this country. It's just all around the globe. Do you know? It's all around the globe now. And I never thought that when Brexit starts, something would overtake Brexit, but it has.
It definitely overshadowed Brexit. Yeah,
it overshadowed Brexit. Forget Brexit. Forget we're leaving the EU. This is what we need. This is here and now. So, I will do my bit, and and I'm hoping that through my. Not that I'll write a blog but through my Twitter feed I will inform saying, look, this is what the mathematicians are doing. This is my running commentary. This is a mathematical model that I've done, and guess what? If me not having any of the information, if I say, wait a minute, guess what? There's a possible sweet spot, and can you imagine what these scientists are who have got all the information and got these supercomputers and working together? There is a way, there is a solution. I'm believing there's a solution, but they need our help. They need our help. Yeah. Yeah, they need our help, because thing is, at the end of the day, we can come up with a solution. We can come up with a strategy. I can make the suggestions. They may see my blog and they say, oh, let's incorporate that. And, we all can make suggestions, and we can say, look, our simulations, our mathematical models has produced this solution. But guess what? If the public decides not to cooperate, guess what? I might as well pack my bags and go home.
Yeah. So definitely, I mean that's a great piece of advice to give, that the public should cooperate and everyone should stay at home and do their bit in order to protect and preserve. I mean, I appreciate the great work that you're doing, and also people like Julia Gog, who you put me through to, who's the mathematical biologist at Cambridge. She's busy at the moment working on the coronavirus, so she was unable to come on the podcast as well. But she said later on down the line, when things tend to cool down, then potentially she might come on as well. And I'm just privileged to have you guys as contacts now, and to be able to get some of the inside scoops, because you've been sending me some great articles that you've put together, and I've got some inside scoop in regards to like the work that's happening in the background, which I'm extremely like appreciative of, and definitely proud to be a part of in terms of knowing.
Hello?
You guys. Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, skipped a bit whilst I was talking there. But yeah, I was just saying that like I appreciate being a part of the community, and you put me in contact with amazing people like yourself. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on today. And I'm just going to encourage everyone to go onto your socials. I'm going to put up all your socials, your details, and just tell them to come on there and get all the necessary information required. And if they have any questions for yourself, to hit you up. And yeah, continue doing the great work, and make sure you stay safe, wash your hands, and keep away.
Elbow. There you go. Well, it's really good chatting to you again, Francis. We must do this. We must do this again. You know,
no, definitely, and we're gonna definitely keep up. I enjoy every time when I speak to you. Definitely, I feel I come back more informed and more knowledgeable about whatever is going on when I do speak to you. So we're definitely gonna catch up and keep track of what's going on. And if you do have any new things that pop up in regards to like your research, then hit me up as well, and we'll talk about it, and we'll share the knowledge with the masses.
Share the knowledge of the masses, and to the masses, stay at home.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Enjoy the rest of your evening, Doctor. Appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.